Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to decode this really fascinating tension between our desire for a totally seamless vacation and the actual survival of the world's greatest treasures. Tourism isn't just some weekend leisure activity. It is a colossal global force. It literally drives 12% of the world's gross national product. That is massive. But it presents a really complex balancing act. So let's unpack the nuts and bolts of modern travel, how destinations completely transform themselves just to win your visit, and the monumental, behind-the-scenes effort required to actually preserve history.
Think about the last time you booked a cheap flight on your phone to visit an iconic landmark. The whole process was probably incredibly easy, right? Barely took 5 minutes. But let's stop and ask a pretty tough question. Is our collective wanderlust actually threatening the very places we desperately want to see? With nearly 700 million international tourists crisscrossing the globe every single year, that frictionless digital travel experience we all love, well, it leaves a massive, heavy physical footprint on the ground.
So, here's our agenda for today. 1. The shift in tourism. 2. Making destinations tourist-friendly. 3. The World Heritage Paradox. 4. Inside the tourism industry. And finally, 5. Achieving sustainable travel.
Let's jump right into Section 1, the shift in tourism.
Historically, the whole industry was dominated by what we call mass tourism. We're talking rigid packages, massive crowds, and a really heavy toll on local resources. But today, the paradigm has shifted completely to alternative tourism. You are now a highly empowered consumer, and you're looking for authentic, small-scale experiences. You want to explore, you want to learn, you don't want to just sit passively on the beach somewhere. And this newfound independence means destinations have had to completely rethink how they cater to your very specific, complex demands.
Which leads us to Section 2, making destinations tourist-friendly.
Becoming a place that tourists actually want to visit is a highly engineered process, and it's driven by 5 key factors. You've got shifting trends and changing tastes which demand unique experiences. But the real game changer here is increasing travel capabilities. The absolute explosion of low-cost carriers and DIY internet booking means you don't have to rely on elite travel agencies anymore. You hold all the power right there in your pocket. When you combine that with public-private partnerships and deep data on what actually motivates you to travel, destinations can literally anticipate your every need. When we actually map out how all these diverse factors converge, it's clear they point toward a single ultimate goal: creating a perfectly frictionless travel experience. The destination essentially transforms into a consumer product. Every activity, the physical space, all the amenities, they're carefully connected so that your journey, from the moment you leave your house to the moment you return, is completely uninterrupted. But here's where we hit a massive speed bump. What happens when that highly empowered consumer expects that exact same frictionless access to a fragile, ancient monument or delicate ecosystem?
And that brings us to Section 3, the World Heritage Paradox. To really understand the stakes here, we have to rewind a bit to the 1972 World Heritage Convention. This is a massive global legal framework signed by over 170 nations. Its one and only duty is to identify, protect, and conserve cultural and natural heritage of what they call outstanding universal value. These are places that have to withstand the test of authenticity and integrity. They are not theme parks built for our amusement. They are absolutely priceless, irreplaceable treasures that the international community has sworn to protect for future generations.
And here is the ultimate paradox. On one hand, you have the crushing, relentless pressure of millions of global tourists, all propelled by cheap flights and super easy booking apps. And on the other hand, you have the painstaking, highly localized manual effort required to keep an ancient site intact. Think of thousands of people swarming a landmark, contrasted with a single worker meticulously sweeping ancient steps. We are demanding modern, high-capacity access to fragile infrastructure that was literally never designed to hold us. When a site earns World Heritage status, visitation often just skyrockets overnight, which forces local conservationists to suddenly become experts in complex business management and crowd control.
Let's peel back the curtain a bit in Section 4, inside the tourism industry. Behind the scenes, your travel is being managed by this incredibly complex multi-tiered supply chain. Right at the top, you have national tourism offices using government funds to promote attractions. Then, tour operators design the packages, travel agencies market them directly to you, and finally, ground operators handle all the local in-country logistics the second you land. To protect a heritage site, the site managers have to navigate this entire web. They're partnering for funding, they're negotiating peak seasons, and they're training locals in responsible tourism. It is a massive, highly coordinated juggling act. Which brings us to our final part, Section 5,
achieving sustainable travel.
Since tourism generates 12% of the world's GNP and provides absolutely vital income for developing nations, we can't exactly just lock the doors and shut down access. That's not the answer. The ultimate resolution here is sustainable tourism. And that requires a very specific public-private partnership. The private sector invests in the accommodations, while the public sector manages the infrastructure and the site protection. When this is done right, it's a brilliant win-win scenario. Your visitor fees actively fund restoration rather than degradation, which empowers local communities to become the primary protectors of their own heritage.
The UNESCO manual actually sums this up perfectly. It says it is an inevitable destiny. The very reasons why a property is chosen for inscription are also the reasons why millions of tourists flock to those sites. The sheer beauty, the history, the outstanding universal value that makes a site worth protecting in the first place, that's exactly what draws us to it. We just can't fight human curiosity. And because this attraction is inevitable, our only defense is proactive management. We have to understand tourists' behavior, we have to engage that massive travel industry, and we must rigorously enforce sustainable practices to ensure these places survive.
So I'm going to leave you with a provocative thought to ponder. We've seen how the entire industry basically bends over backward to make things friendly and seamless for you. But true sustainability requires us to be friendly to the destination in return. So the next time you book your DIY adventure, ask yourself, how will your personal footprint impact the delicate balance of the place you're visiting? Thanks so much for exploring this incredibly important explainer with me. Keep learning, keep questioning, and above all, travel responsibly.